I want to talk about turning against really quickly because I want to know how much someone can turn against you and then you've had it. Is there research of like how many times this happens and then you just give up?
Yeah, that's a really great question because there is a point where anger and disappointment become apathy. I just don't care anymore, you know. Once it becomes apathy, when you don't care anymore and your partner doesn't move you anymore, then you're kind of done with the relationship. It's really over. And it's easy to get to that point of apathy by just always turning against your partner's bids, always being irritable, being controlling, being only aware of your partner's mistakes and trying to correct your partner's mistakes and not having constructive conflict. Then eventually those embers go out, and there's nothing there. And when there's nothing there, you're better off alone than in a relationship that is lonely and empty.
Can you talk about that in regards to the workplace?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are many workplaces in the world where competitiveness and backbiting and aggression, even secret aggression, has replaced working together as a team and working with people who are delighted by your successes and feel proud of you and just beam when you're successful and happy. The difference between that and the workplace where people are always irritable and competitive with one another and really see their work colleagues as enemies, potential enemies, just dramatically different. Those two work environments are so different. And it's easy to devolve into this hostile work environment, this competitive, angry, envious work environment. Envy is really the major emotion in the academic world, Paul Ekman said. And Paul Ekman was right. It's the major emotion. And it's poisonous. It's really destructive. And it leads people to be alone and just want to build their own empire and not cite anyone else's. And it's really awful. What a terrible way to live. I mean, I'm fortunate, I'm blessed that I have a lifelong relationship with my best friend, Bob Levinson. And when Bob is successful at something, it fills me with joy. I am really happy about Bob's successes. I revel in them. I love them. I love that the world recognizes him for the brilliant person he is. And the same thing with my wife. We're great collaborators. I experience joy when she's recognized and when, she's seen for the wonderful clinician and scientist she is. And if you have a work environment like that, boy, it makes life really worth living. And you're working with people, you're creating something together. It's almost like raising a child together. You're having ideas and you're bringing them to fruition. And these people are your friends. And you don't envy them. And you don't experience joy when they fail. On the opposite, you really feel joy when they succeed. And even if it's not your success, that's a great work environment.
If your work environment is not like that, how can your partner help you, help support you when you can't quit your job?
It's a great question. I think the answer that we found to that dilemma, when your partner really doesn't like their job, and is the stress-reducing conversation, is to really be there and listen. And if your partner can't leave the job, just be a supportive listener and just, listen to these stresses and to these pains in the work environment, and be understanding of it, and be there just side by side, empathizing, understanding, asking questions, wanting to know all the details of what the work environment is like, and be helpful just by being present and being curious and interested in what's going on. It's an awful situation. And, I know my mother had that experience with my dad, who, for 36 years, was in a job he hated. And, but, she knew that my dad had his friend Morris, who was there. And, and she nurtured that relationship, and she listened to my dad. And as soon as they were financially able to, she said, you can quit your job. We have enough money. Let's leave together. Let's leave this awful job. And they did. And what a wonderful gift that was to my dad. And my mother managed the money in such a way that he could retire much earlier. And then they had a wonderful life in Fleischmann's, New York. Once he could leave that awful job.